And we were like, what did we just, that was like a $3,000, I think it was $3,300 the payment was, and we were like, what did we just get ourselves into?
The one off Hayden?
And we wholesaled it. We were like, nope, we don't want to do this.
Oh, yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Break It Down with Braydon. I got Jared and Molly Rodham on with me today. Thanks for joining me today, guys.
Yeah, hi.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
Absolutely. Known them for a while, just kind of out and about in the real estate industry. I've known actually Molly just kind of in the industry actually back in the day in Old Town and stuff. But you guys just absolutely.
Where did you?
Well, I was at Junkie.
Oh,
Yes, way back in the day. Junkie Wednesdays was my day.
Yes.
The good times.
It was everyone's day.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But anyways, tell everybody a little bit about yourselves, kind of how you guys got into the real estate world, and kind of where you're at today.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we got together about 7 years ago. I was in the medical device space for a lot of years. It's what brought me out to Arizona. Was really good for my career and a great experience, but I kind of got burnt out of that corporate space and had a background with some real estate back east and decided that I wanted to switch gears, do more of the investment thing. And I met Molly at Keller Williams. I got my license out here, signed up, and we met and kind of went from there.
I think that was like, actually probably, 7, 8 years ago?
Probably about 7 years
A while ago.
yeah.
Yeah, but I always think it's funny because everyone thought he was like crazy leaving medical device sales to do real estate.
Yep.
But then we met there. We were in like the new agent classes together. And then eventually I convinced him to buy a flip with me. Then we bought another one. Then we invested together. And then never would have thought this is where our lives would have ended up. But then, 7.5 years later, we ended up still in real estate, married, little 2-year-old.
Very cool.
Crazy.
Yeah, quite the story. So did medical devices kind of catapult you into real estate? Were you still doing that on the side?
Well, so I originally got my license when I was living in Florida before I moved out here.
Okay. So you had your Florida license?
My Florida real estate license, but I was in medical device.
Okay.
And I had an opportunity to come out to Arizona. They were looking to boost the territory out here. I was the only young single guy that could make the move. So I got an opportunity to come out, and I thought I'd come out here for a year and then move back to the East Coast. It'd be great for my resume, and I'd move on through the company.
Yep.
I worked for Medtronic.
Okay.
And really, it was, like I said, a great opportunity, but I got to the point that I always thought, I want to get into medical sales, and I want to be the top rep, and I want to climb the ladder. And I got to the point that I always thought I wanted to get to, and I wasn't happy. It wasn't for me as far as I didn't like the corporate structure. I didn't like some of the stuff that kind of went on in the medical community as far as being a rep and selling product there. And I just wanted to work for myself.
Yeah.
I wasn't satisfied. So there was a merger with the company. It was a great time to kind of give my notice and leave. And everyone, including my family, thought I was absolutely crazy.
Medical device sales, you're probably making good money.
I was
Yeah,
making
doing
really
just
good money
fine,
at the time. Money
What
was
the hell?
good.
And back then houses were like, you weren't selling $1 million home. I mean, you could have been, but like our average price point back then was like $200,000.
Right.
And I'll be honest, the first 6 months, every day I was like, what did I do? What did I do?
Yeah.
Luckily, when I left, I had the best year I had ever had. So I knew, hey, my resume still looks good. I still have my contacts. If this doesn't work out in real estate, I'll get on the phone and get myself back in there. But
And they gave you a severance.
They did. Like I said, there was a big company merger going on, and I was able to work a nice severance, which allowed me to get paid for those 6 months while I was getting up and running with real estate.
So is that how you leveraged into the first flip? So you used some of that severance?
Fortunately, like I said, medical device money was good. So I had some stashed away, and Molly was actually working with an investor out of California, and he was doing really lipstick type quick flips. But Molly was finding the property, managing the remodel, then selling it and taking a small percentage.
Okay.
So as we got to know each other, I said, hey, listen, I kind of have a background in some renovation type stuff from back east. I've got some money. If you find something that you either don't want to flip or that we could go in on, I'd love to do that.
Cool.
And that was the first one, and it was a little condo.
But ultimately, we didn't even really use our own money. We bought it. I think we bought it for like $80,000 or something.
That's true. We were hard money at
Like, hard
18%.
money. Interest only 18% money, which is just what the investor that I had worked with did.
Yep.
So I just was like, oh, cool. You basically just sign your name and they give you this money and you're at 18% interest. And we did I think it was maybe like a little $20,000. Not even. Back then, it was probably $10,000. So it wasn't like super cash.
Yeah.
Like we didn't have to have a bunch of cash saved.
Yep.
But we did that, and then we just kind of moved on and kept going.
It was just a small condo, McDowell and Hayden, and we bought it. We each put $10,000 in. We each made $10,000 after all was said and done, and we're like, all right, let's do this again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we bought a single family house down the road and did the same thing, and I think made 25 each off that, and we've kind of just
It's
kept rolling
literally
it.
kept
Yeah.
going since then
Yeah.
for the whole time.
And how'd you get into it?
Into real estate or
Yeah,
flipping?
real estate.
I don't like.
Isn't that what
I
you
don't
do
really
after
know.
being a bottle girl in Old Town?
Well, okay, in my defense, well, yes, you do that. But in my defense, when I graduated high school and all of my friends were like, I'm going to ASU, I'm going to U of A, this is what I want to do.
Yep.
I was like, I have no idea what I want. Like, I could not tell you what I want to do for the rest of my life, let alone like the next year.
Yeah.
But I knew I was really interested in real estate, and I went to real estate school for the first time when I was like right out of high school. And just was, at that point in life where I didn't really have commitments. So I didn't finish it. But then I went back again like a couple of years later and did the same thing.
Yep.
Then I moved to California, and I went to real estate school there too.
Okay.
And then ended up moving back, and then finally got my license. But I kind of always just was like, that's what I'm going to do.
So you've been educated, that's for sure.
Well, I never like.
I'm learning something
Yeah.
too. I didn't know you went for it in California.
Yeah,
Learning on breaking down with Brandon.
I was doing it online in California, and I got this job actually in California being somebody's real estate assistant.
Yep.
And I was so excited. I was like, this is it. This is how I'm going to get my foot in the door. And I think I worked for him for like 6 hours, and he was like, I just need you to find for sale by owner signs and then send me the number and call that. And I was like, okay, now what? And it didn't work out. I worked for him maybe 10 hours, and then he was like, okay, I don't actually know that I need an assistant. Never mind.
Yep.
But then moved back here, worked at the W, so still in the like bottle service industry,
Yep.
and then got my license finally. And I stayed with that while I did real estate for like probably until I think I had 3 in escrow. And I was like, okay, I have a lot in my pipeline. I think I'm at the point where I could quit, and I can't be gone like at the pool for 10 hours a day on a Saturday if I have clients that I have an obligation to. So I quit, and then I never looked back.
Love it.
But it was such a good, like, that got me to a really good place where I could save a little bit, be in a good position to get into that. Because I will say, like, especially right now, if you're getting into real estate,
Yep.
you either need a good chunk of savings so that you can fully commit to just saying, okay, if I don't make money for 6 months, I know that probably the next 6 months I'll be okay.
Yep.
Or else it's really hard to be successful unless you just get lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, in this business, it's a business, so you got to spend money to make money.
Yeah,
if you
and
don't have
even
it, it's tough.
just, I feel like everyone I've talked to, unless you've gotten lucky, is like 6 months you don't make anything.
Yep.
You're not going to sell a house for 6 months at least, and that's
Yeah.
if you're like giving it your all.
Right. Yeah, unless
So.
if your family or whatever are kind of going to buy in for you and help you
Yeah.
out kind of in the beginning.
Unless
or
you got
whatever,
like
which-
lucky,
right,
yeah. Unless you had
exactly.
some good strings to pull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So fast forward to today, you guys have just been crushing it on the flips. I know you guys have kind of molded a little bit past that now and stuff, kind of doing a lot more on the resale side as well. But talk a little bit about kind of how many flips you guys have done, the experience with flips and stuff.
Yeah, and we were kind of talking about this morning. So back, that was probably 5-6 years ago, we had 4 going at all times. We were leveraging with hard money so we could do more. We did a bunch in South Scottsdale. I would say we've probably done like 50-ish, maybe more than that. I don't know.
If we count, ones that we also got a good deal on and didn't have to do work to and just kind of wholesale
Yeah.
them or
Yeah.
sold them, we're probably
I don't know. We've
65
never
plus.
counted.
Yeah.
But we did that for a long time where we were just flipping. Then I think it was probably just that the market got a little more competitive and construction costs got so high.
Mm-hmm.
And we just realized our real estate business got really busy, and we realized that flipping was really a lot of headache. It was just a headache. It's a lot of work. It's stressful. It's annoying. It's not as fun as it seems like. And so we kind of started pulling back from that a little bit. And then we got into helping other people buy and then renovate their own homes,
Yep.
which looking back, I'm like, oh, if we think flipping our own house is annoying, how annoying do you think it's going to be helping
Yeah,
somebody
more
else flip their
opinions,
house?
right, exactly, yeah.
So we got into that for a little bit, and that was really good because I feel like that helped us bring in a lot of buyers.
Yep.
And then a lot of people that we had a long-term connection with.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of started like getting away from traditional flipping, and we would see something that was a good deal. buy it and say, we'll hold that as a rental. Did we ever hold anything as a rental? No, we always ended up selling it. But we would just kind of do like casual flips. Like we're like, oh, let's just throw some paint on that, see what we can do with it. And
everyone that's in real estate always kind of struggles with that. It's like, well, you could sell it though. And then
especially over the
tough
last
when you're
5
in the
years.
industry. Yeah, exactly. There's been such margins too.
I remember. Oh, go ahead.
I will say we're really lucky, and in the way that we got into flipping, and that was our focus, because no one really knew us in the real estate space before that. You know, it wasn't like we were going to come in and all of a sudden get lucky or have all these clients that want to work with us. Like, why would they want to work with us? But what it was is flipping was very popular. Shows like,
for sure.
You know, what's the Chip
Love It or Listed or Chip and Diane.
Yeah.
Flip or Flop.
That was really big. And Molly and I were just kind of doing our thing, but
I was
kind of posting about it.
Show to come out.
Right?
Yeah. And that was so more so than it is now. Like everybody was into flipping back then.
Well, and they only see the sexy side of it too. They're not seeing all the minutia and all the shit that happens when you open up the walls and everything.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there is a lot of fun elements to that, but yes, there's stress. And I think the biggest thing is, you know, depending on people to get work done and those sort of things. But for us, it allowed us to kind of create a following in the real estate space and on social media, and you know, take that to basically build a brand. And then when we wanted to move out of our own flips, we were able to bring value to customers by helping them. Like, you know, anyone can help them buy a house, but if someone can walk in and say, hey, you should buy this because we can, for X amount of dollars, improve the value, the home, give it what you need, whether you're flipping it or going to live in it. So we were able to do that for our clients. So it really allowed us to create a brand and a business behind it.
Also, I think what was really nice and helped our brand a lot, or our business, was we were helping other investors buy flips too, which then meant we got the beautiful listing when it was done.
Very
and
true.
we got two sides on it. So I feel like if you look at the listings that we typically have, they're usually, I mean, we do everything, but a lot of our listings for a long time were all houses that were flipped. So then you could say open houses and get more buyers from that. Good like it really did create this brand for us that was like beautiful, and like it attracted the clientele that we wanted. It worked really, really well.
And I think the way we've kind of adapted as an investor, because yes, we're flippers, but we're investors. So we'll adapt with the market, and whatever it gives us, we pick a route. You know, does it make sense to flip it or hold it as a rental, or, you know, entertain short-term rentals, you know, just kind of be able to have all options at your disposal.
Yeah, I feel like that it really stands you guys apart, being that, like you said, you could walk into a house with a client, prospective buyer or whatever, and they could walk through and go, oh, well, I don't really like that, I don't really like that, and you could kind of give them an opinion of what that's going to actually cost to update that. And I feel like that's huge, because especially in the last couple of years when there were multiple offers and having to go over asking price, and people were having to probably take a house that they didn't necessarily want to take in a lot of circumstances, and there was a lot of updating or renovations that they needed to do to get it to what they wanted.
Well, even just like over the it's helped us for a long time in a lot of different markets too, because over the last 2 years, if you were bidding against a house that was like perfect and move-in ready, it was always going for $200,000 over premium. There was so many offers. And so a lot of what we were telling people is like, okay, well, maybe we find something that's not perfect that a lot of people wouldn't want. And then you can do small things that will make it more of like what that house that you wanted that had 50 offers on is. So I feel like even if a lot of people didn't do that with us, just having that knowledge or that background like attracted people.
How were you finding the properties that you guys were going after? Were you just price per square foot, kind of lower end markets, or how were you kind of targeting? Now
or then, or both? Both. I remember back like when we first started, I had a search set up that was 85257 under 190 a square foot. And I would just kind of watch that to see like if something popped up on that, then I would look into it more. Not that we've ever gone just by price per square foot, but I just think that's so funny because you're like, maybe it was 175. If it was under 175.
That's kind of what I've always looked at.
Yeah. And now that's insane. There's nothing that would sell for that. But what we've done is we've always just focused on one area. So like it used to be South Scottsdale. And so with that, you would just kind of know when something was a good deal. And then also when we had listings and worked with buyers, we had the perspective of both sides. So we would say, okay, well, we know that just sold for that. We could make it a little bit better. We know what that's worth. Or we know that we have buyers that look for that, what they're paying for those things. But we've pretty much always found MLS. I'd say the majority of the things that we've bought were actually off MLS. We used to do some marketing, like very, very light marketing for like we buy cash.
Yep.
Maybe a couple off of like flyers or signs or just
Were you doing
neighborhood.
like bandit signs, or like how were you doing?
No, we
We
would
Buy
just stick
Cash?
a little sign in the front yard of a
Okay.
house that we were flipping.
Yep.
And I think we sent out like maybe 2 rounds of flyers once, and we got one off of that. But no, never anything. A lot of times it would be a neighbor that was like, oh, we want to sell our house cash, or and then we used to do wholesale a little bit,
Okay.
but it's probably been 5 years
been a
since we
while.
bought a wholesale deal.
it's a
Yeah.
little tighter,
They
that's for
jack
sure.
up all the margin most of
Yeah.
the time. So,
Mhm.
but speaking of that, we focused in areas, and we would always meet the neighbors too. But we started flipping south of Thomas when people were like, oh, no one wants to live down there, and like the neighborhoods weren't flipped yet, and the houses, a lot of them were old and outdated. So we started there, and then those neighborhoods got nice, and then we started going south of McDowell, and everyone's like, oh no, you can't sell for $500,000 south of McDowell, and we all know what happened there.
Yep.
And
We
so
did.
we really kind of created a presence in each of the areas. Like it wasn't uncommon for us to flip 3 houses in a row on a street, or 3 in a block. Like, so we got to know the neighbors. So then we'd get a call, hey, my grandmother's selling, or this so and so wants to do this, but they don't want to go to market, and
Yep.
we'd be able to kind of put together deals that way as well. Even the neighborhood that we live in now, we started out a few years ago flipping, and we flipped 3 houses in a row on one of the streets, and then there was a property on a large lot that we ended up buying. Fixed that up, moved into it. That's now an Airbnb, and we bought one up the street. And Molly's dad moved in too. So we've really kind of we
We're, like,
hone in
focused
on
on one
certain
area.
neighborhoods and really get after it.
There's no way else of like really knowing the market, because there's no way of knowing like all of Scottsdale or all of Phoenix, like
Right.
especially Phoenix.
To really know
We-
it.
To really
yeah.
know it, like it's really tough.
We've literally never, in all of the years that we've been doing this, we've never bought a property outside of our little pocket.
Yeah.
Which is weird to say, because you're like, well, you could find a good deal anywhere. But just with us, where we know, like, if we spend all of our time in 85257 or 85008, we know that so well that, like, it's easy for us to feel like we're making a really educated decision.
Yep. I hear
And-
that from a lot of investors. Like in
Yeah.
my backyard is always very
We
Exactly.
won't, like, we have literally never bought outside of 85257, 85008, and I think we did one in 85251.
There
So-
was a couple outliers, but they were more like
Yeah.
wholesale deals. We're like, all right, we like that price. We're not going to touch it, but we know we can turn around and just sell it for more and make some money.
Yep.
So some stuff down in Phoenix.
And even right now, so like we're in this kind of like weird market,
Mm-hmm.
and like yesterday we saw this house pop up and we went and looked at it. We were like, that would have sold for at least 300 grand more, 300 to 400 grand more
4 months ago.
5 months ago.
Yeah.
That person really undervalued that house. Did it fit our buy box of what we're looking for? Not one bit. It was way over in price. It was like,
Except for
but
location.
we were just like, that's our zip code. We know that that's a really good deal.
Yep.
We're under contract on it. We'll buy it and we'll hold it for a year and then see what happens.
Yep.
And on our mind, we're like, okay, if things, I think we could sell it and make money on it. But if things balance back out, then cool, make a couple $100 grand and sell it. If
Right.
they don't, then we always have backup plans for everything that we do.
Yep.
So like we feel very safe in all of our investments that we make,
Yeah.
but we wouldn't do that in any other zip code.
No.
We just like, no, we've seen every single listing that's ever come up in our little neighborhood.
Yep.
We're like, that's a good deal. Buy it.
So you're gonna put a long-term renter in there for the time being.
We're kind of
short-term.
we haven't decided yet.
Okay.
So something that we're playing around with is just, obviously it's a little bit more cash intensive, like it's more cash out of pocket to get it ready for an Airbnb. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to manage it. But at least we could make some money and cash flow okay on that,
Mhm.
versus just saying like, we'll maybe make $500 a month for the next year,
Right.
then reassess and like figure out what it is that we really want to do with that. So we're not sure yet. We're like definitely right in between which one.
What part of town?
85008.
Yeah.
Okay. So in Scottsdale.
So just south of Thomas.
Phoenix,
in
just
Phoenix.
Okay.
Yeah.
bordering South Scottsdale.
Got
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes sense as long term, and like so we always have criteria. Like
Well,
we don't buy
kind of.
something unless it makes sense. Like could we make some money off of it? Could we flip it? Does it make sense as a vacation rental, or does it make sense as a long term rental? We don't bank on. There's a lot of people that bought over the last year or 2 years where they're like they buy this house for $1 million because on Airbnb I can make so much money. Yeah, but what happened? I mean, we're already seeing some changes in that space, and what if something happens? So I'm not saying those people aren't doing great on those properties, but for
Yeah.
us, it needs to, make sense for that. Is that an option? Cool. But if that goes away tomorrow, would it make a great long-term rental, or at least cover our costs on it, it has to.
Yeah.
And then also, again, are we buying it below value where we could sell it off and make some money on it in any market?
We've always, too, like, if we ever buy, we're the most cautious people, I feel like, in investing.
That's pretty important.
Conservative.
We-
Yeah, conservative.
Conservative and cautious, though. Like, we have very in-depth, detailed conversations about any house we buy. Like, okay, what is the worst case scenario with this property if we purchase it? If you couldn't rent it, you couldn't sell it, like, could you hold on to it for a year and just kind of coast and see out? Like, we literally have that conversation about everything that we buy.
Yeah.
And so I feel like because of that, I think we've always been cautious and, like, conservative in what we've done. Well,
Oh, yeah.
there's a couple times where maybe not, but
Those are a couple times I want to talk about. So talk about those a couple times. What's been some of the horror stories, or what's been some of the big things you guys have learned, I guess, over the course of this
well,
65 homes or whatever we're at now? That's crazy.
I'll say something that we've learned, but then also what I think we've always kind of like thought.
Yeah.
So definitely in the beginning when we had hard money, we were doing 18% interest only,
Mm-hmm.
which in this market doesn't seem that crazy. But back then when your flip margins were so small
Yep.
and it wasn't a market that was moving in, like, you know, where you had 20 offers in 2 days, it was like, okay, if you price right, maybe you'll get an offer.
Yeah.
But that was like kind of ballsy. Can I say that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But we would have 18% interest only hard money loans on that. And I remember we bought a $350,000 house and we were like, what did we just, that was like a $3,000, I think it was $3,300 the payment was, and we were like, what did we just get ourselves into?
The one off Hayden?
And we wholesaled it. We were like, nope, we don't want to do this anymore. Yeah.
It was off Hayden, like, but yeah.
But
Not Hayden, Chaparral.
things that I learned, I did a couple by myself actually. And because when I was young, I was like 20, I don't know, 23, 24.
Yeah.
And I had like hard money loans and I could just like buy and flip houses, and that was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
And I bought, Jared was more cautious back then. He was like, I'm going to just stay like
Pump the
safe
brakes
over
there, Mom.
here.
Pump the
Yeah.
brakes.
I'm more numbers oriented.
And I bought, I had one, and it was before he did sewer scopes, and we finished it all. It was with an unlicensed contractor that we found out did really horrible work after the fact. They had like redone the roof, done everything, and then I had a buyer and it was inspected. They wanted the full roof redone. The sewer lines were like that, like, and I lost money on that. And that was one of the only times that we've like, well, you didn't lose any money, but where I've lost money. But it was like not having a good quality contractor, not doing my due diligence, which now everyone does sewer scopes, and now I know what to look for. Like, we're not going to buy a house and not know what possible like things could come up.
Yep.
We already know we're like, okay, block wall, AC, sewer lines,
Yep.
electrical panel. Like, we know what to look for now.
How many Hallcraft homes have you guys done?
Oh, well, that was like all of our little
I was gonna say,
South
'cause
Scottsdale.
That's pretty much
right there.
everything
Yeah.
It
in
was like
that
a
area.
little Hallcraft red bricker.
Yep.
We had some where, you know, I would always add massive contingencies. Like,
Okay.
I mean, when I would I would set up the numbers beforehand, and I would like overboard it and be like, yeah, we can buy this and this will be our margin. But I would throw a lot in there as far as like shit goes wrong.
Yep.
And we had a couple where, you know, we had a few month project and a lot of work, and I think we walked away with like $5,000
Each, yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe total.
Yeah, and there was a couple of those, but I will say this. It is a much different market today than it was 5 years ago, because even though when we started it wasn't, you know, 50 offers on every deal,
Yep.
it was a forgiving market because things were gradually going up. So, like, you could screw up a little bit and still break even or make a little bit money.
Yeah.
Like, it was just it was a good opportunity. When we first started out, it was a great time to learn and
It was,
and mess
yeah,
up.
it was perfect.
Because if you did that in different markets, you could lose a lot of money on one flip. And I felt like we had a lot of grace in those periods because, again, this is where we think we're going to sell it, but, it's gone up quite a bit. So here's where we're going to sell for, and it made up for the mistakes.
Yeah.
And then it was fun when we actually got good and we figured out what we were doing, because then we were, you know, crushing our returns on them.
But also so much of that so much of being good at flipping over the last 3 years was just the market.
Yeah.
Like, we just would buy things and it would be like, okay, I think by the time we're done with this, it'll be worth $800,000, and it would sell for $1 million. Like,
Yeah.
you know, that was just the market. That had nothing to do with if we were good at what we do or if we knew what we were looking for. It just was the
Taking pictures and
market.
stuff. Yeah.
And I think where people have kind of gotten in a little bit of trouble, which we had always had backup plans. So we were like, we know this isn't forever. We know it's not always going to go up 20% a year, whatever it did.
Which is why we sold a lot of stuff that I wish we had held on to. Because there's a lot of that, like, hey, we made 30, 40, 50 grand, but if we'd held it for 2 years, we could have cashed it.
We were too cautious. We've been too, I don't have any regrets because everything that we've done has gotten us to this point in our lives, which is like, you know, we're at a good point for investing, for doing whatever we want to with real estate. But we've literally, since we started in real estate, said, okay, what if the market crashed? Let's just sell. Let's take the money and run. We've done that with every single property that we've ever owned. Yep. And like I said, it's worked out well. We've just kept building and moving it. But if we would have been a little more... I don't regret it.
We're also in a different stage. It's tougher to do that when you have 18% hard money versus, okay, now we can fund our deals and we have that control.
But yeah,
well, you can never be mad about taking profits.
No, not at all. Yeah. I do look back though and I'm like, oh, we could have had a portfolio of like 20 houses that we bought for 200 grand. Like, I do look back sometimes and think that, but it literally has. We've taken everything we've ever made and reinvested and reinvested and reinvested. And so,
well, how much other value you've put into other people's pockets as well.
Right.
People recognize that, and there's a reason why I think your guys' business is flourishing right now, is because you guys have done that. You've taken the time to help other people and help them build value. Nice. And yeah, I think that comes back tenfold for sure. Because I mean, you're truly helping people make the biggest purchase and really setting them apart with what you guys have helped them do in terms of like a lot of different things. So it's cool.
Yeah.
I've read a lot about like, different speakers and investors, and and a lot of them will touch on like, if you want to grow your business, like you need to do things for free. And it sounds kind of crazy. What do you mean? How am I going to make money if I do things for free? But we were literally, as agents, helping people buy a house. And then we would handle the whole, like, or manage and coordinate and do, like, the whole remodel with them. And we weren't charging anything. Yeah. Everyone thought we were charging, like, construction fees or design.
We never did.
And we weren't charging anything. So it was, like, 3 months of work after that. And it was exhausting. Yeah. I think probably why we got away from that.
We should have. We always said we would, and we never did.
But we were giving that away for free. But those are still the clients that have bought with us twice since then, have referred all their friends and family. I mean, all of our business comes from social media and past clients. We don't do any marketing or anything to...
Yep.
And every single past client that we've ever worked with is like our person. Like, they are like our friends, our family. They are so loyal to us. We're so loyal. Like, I don't know what it is, but the people that we attract are like our people. And they're like, they call us when they have they're getting divorced and they need to sell. They call us when they're having a baby. Like, I feel like we just become... because we've done so well by our people, they do so well by us.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's because you're looking at it as an investor standpoint. So, like, when they're going to buy a property, you're thinking, all right, what is the end goal for them, as opposed to like, I'm just trying to make a sale.
Right. Yeah, and we do.
I feel like that's huge because like you actually have their value and their livelihood in mind, as opposed to like, I'm looking to make a check.
We're so honest with people. Like, there's been plenty of times where I'm like, don't buy. Like, no, don't buy that.
This one, I wouldn't.
This is kind of a risky move right now where we're at in the market, or like. And we are. It's never, I don't think it's ever been about like, which everybody probably either says one or the other, that it's about the money or it's not. But I feel like it really is just about like our community and our people and helping them do well. And whenever you have that mindset, I feel like, well, the good just comes to you.
Yeah. Well, especially if you were doing all the construction stuff on kind of pro bono or whatever, if you would. And that's a tremendous amount of value.
It was a lot of work.
But it's created such a community. Like, we love what we do. We love the people we work with. We don't work with people that we don't enjoy or respect, or that don't respect us. Like, it's a really nice position to be in right now. We're super grateful for that and the people that it's brought into our lives.
And we got married. Got a kid now.
We did.
Pretty cool.
I know.
Yeah. Wyatt's almost 2.5, and he born during COVID and all the craziness, and but it's just been an incredible 2.5 years, and then we got married 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
Which was beautiful. Small ceremony, 60 people.
Love it.
Family, friends. It was
Where was it at?
A client, well, more of a friend, owns a property in Paradise Valley, a private residence, and we did it there.
Love it.
It was really, really nice.
Yeah. It was dreamy.
Yeah.
What about you?
New in my world. took on the new role, so I'm pretty excited about that.
So tell us about
What was
that.
your old role and what's your new role?
So I was a sales executive or a business development manager, a marketing rep, whatever you guys call us over here in the title world, and now I'm VP of Sales and Marketing.
So what's changed in your role?
So I'm helping manage now the sales team.
Okay.
So we've got 16 of me, I guess,
Oh.
that are in the role, and so now I'm helping manage those guys, and then I'm helping manage the customer solutions department, which is our 5 graphic designers and our whole print company that we have in-house.
Cool.
So kind of changing up the systems
Big
a little
jump.
bit and adding some different things into the repertoire, and I'm really excited to kind of mold the team and hopefully catapult Great American a little bit higher.
You will.
You've got the
You
energy
will.
for it.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
What's the territory look like?
In
Is it
terms
just Arizona?
Arizona.
Or is it, yeah.
Yep. Arizona and Nevada, we've got another
Okay.
location in. Talking about going to like Colorado or Texas next is kind of the plan, but really going to focus in on Arizona first and make sure we're everywhere we need to be in Arizona. I want to go up into the White Mountains. I want to go to Flagstaff, kind of get all those northern territories.
Yeah.
There's another title company I won't mention, but they do pretty well in the northern areas, and so I
Okay.
want to get up in there. We have an office in Payson right now.
Yeah.
We've got 17 in Maricopa County, and so I want to
Wow, that's a lot.
get to northern Arizona and expand it a little bit more in Arizona, maybe even down to Tucson. It's a little bit harder of a market to get into down there in terms of the cost to buy into the title plant down there is pretty pricey, but
Okay.
yeah, that's kind of the growth plan for us.
Good for you.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm excited.
And how long have you been with?
7 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa. Oh, so we all got in at the same time.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
started with Magnus 3 years prior
Yeah.
to that. So I was with them for 3 years, and then I did the mortgage side for 3 years prior to that. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
so
I've only
you're
been
in
in the
it.
real estate world. Yeah.
Wow. How old are you?
32,
Oh, so you've been in it since you were like,
20.
jeez.
Yeah, I interned for 2 mortgage companies in college, and then jumped right into it right after. Had my license 6 months after graduating.
Wow. Good for you.
That's
So
a lot of experience, and nice that you have a kind of like the lending side as well.
Yeah, it gives me a little different outlook than the normal people in the title world, because I
Right.
actually have an idea of what the consumer-facing world looks like, as opposed to just business to business, and so it's been
So
good.
you've kind of seen every market then,
Oh yeah.
a little
Yeah.
bit. What are your thoughts
Yeah.
on this market? You know better than us.
I feel like people are always reaching out and asking us, but like, what's your take on the market and what's going on and where we're headed?
I think it's about as balanced as it could be right now.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, it's not. I mean, for a while there, it was going up 1,000 listings every week.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been doing that anymore. Last
No.
week we saw a decrease. Actually, went down like 600 listings or whatever. And so, seems as though the properties that are actually updated are going really quick. The properties that are a little bit shittier and a little bit more dilapidated are
Or not priced or
Have to be
reflected.
priced really
not
well.
priced
Yeah.
right are sitting. And yeah, and then they're also the same person that thinks because the house next door to them sold for this that they should be getting that, even though theirs isn't updated.
Yeah.
So as long as it's priced right, I think it's still selling, but they still have the same market as 5 months ago, where they think, oh well, they went 100,000 over asking price, so I should go 100,000 over
Yeah.
asking price, and that's just not the case anymore.
There are deals right now.
There are deals.
There are
deals.
like killer deals right now.
Yes, and like, do I think interest rates are going to shoot down shortly? No, but I don't think it's going to stay up the way they are for a long term.
Yeah. Like our plan with the one that we just bought, it's not like we're like, oh, we're going to refinance in 6 months in the threes. Like that's not our,
Yeah.
we're like, okay, maybe in a year we could refinance, then
Yep.
see what happens from there. Like,
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
like you guys said, you need to have options, and you need to be able to know that, like, all right, if I only get this much rent, is it going to cover my monthly mortgage?
Right.
Yeah.
And if it does that, and if it were to go down a little bit more, is it still going to cover? And then does that make sense? And am I taking on the risk that is necessary?
yeah.
I think, like you mentioned, where like everyone thought that, oh well, Airbnb, all I need is the cash flow, and I'm going to make $10,000 a month on this $300,000 property. Like that's not really.
Yeah, people were buying things as Airbnbs for
I mean, we've
like
sold stuff that we're like, wow, I can't believe that
Yeah.
they're paying this much for it. You know,
Mhm.
for our clients. And
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you
representing the sellers,
Yeah, I know.
not the buyers.
Yeah,
We yeah. We're very
Um,
verbal about our thought. Yeah, the nice thing about our little, like our client base and how close we are, like we don't hold back. Like we'll tell you exactly what we think.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think like I feel like I've seen a little bit of a shift definitely in because in Scottsdale if you were selling a 4-3 with a pool and it checked those boxes as an Airbnb, people were paying 1.3, 1.2 just because they could cash flow as an Airbnb. And so I don't see Airbnb investors out there as much as I did a year ago.
Yep.
And so those are the houses that you're like, well, that's worth 300,000 less right now because there's just not that that buyer in your market.
Right.
And I feel like everyone's talked about how much Airbnb is like slowed down, and we haven't really seen it on our end. It looks like we'll have a good year next year.
How many Airbnbs do you guys have?
We only have one right now.
Okay.
It's one in our little neighborhood.
Yeah.
But they
Where
still.
Is that?
85008. Okay. So 56th Street in Thomas.
Okay.
So we're in Phoenix.
Okay, so you're not having to deal with the new rules that they just established for Scottsdale.
So we kind of feel like, obviously, if one city sets rules, that can trickle to the next, and like anyone can do that. But we do kind of like that we pull up as Scottsdale, but we're Phoenix.
Because we're right on the Scottsdale-Phoenix border.
Got it.
Yeah.
So still
56th Street splits.
Rules of Phoenix, it feels like you're in Scottsdale.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
And from a perspective of people staying there, it's a beautiful property on a half acre in 5 minutes to Old Town.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
kind of checks those boxes. But yeah, there's definitely deals out there now. I think the properties where, like you were saying, people are, looking at their neighbor's house that sold 4 or 5 months ago, and they want their agent to list at that price. They're getting less in the long run because they end up doing price reductions, chasing it down. Meanwhile, they could have had it sold at a higher price if they had just been real about what's going on in the market.
I think people just want it to feel like that's kind of a good deal.
Yeah.
And then you have a buyer.
Yeah.
If that's like kind of a good deal, then there's a buyer for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I track the average sales price closings and everything, and we're still not below last year by any means.
Yeah.
It's trickled down a little bit from where we were high 5 months ago, but it's definitely not like I'm not freaking out by any means. And
No,
that's okay.
we're not
everyone
either.
that I have on, which I feel like I respect and value their opinions, all say the same thing. Like, the thing's not crashing.
Yeah, and I feel like we really never say, like, we don't know what's going to happen or what's not going to happen. Yep. We have no idea. Like, I would never sit here and tell you the market was or was not going to crash next year. I have no idea. Like, it's out of anything that I could foresee or predict. But we just, like, try to make good educated decisions. Yeah, and that's all you can do.
And as an investor, there's opportunity in any market. And when less people are buying and there's less competition, there's more opportunity. And there's never going to be that perfect scenario where rates are low and prices are low and there's no competition. Like that's not a thing.
Right.
So I think like someone who has a true investor mindset and has been around and has done this, they're going to find deals when, in any market or any time over the last few years where we've seen such change.
Yeah.
But also, in the last 2 years, home values went up 50+%. So if it came down or trickled down a little bit or slowed a little bit, is that really devastating? Is that really a horrible thing? And again, I'm not predicting, what's going to happen because things can, but I think you need to look at it at a bigger perspective versus what the news is saying. And
well, it's long term. It's not like you're buying and selling it as a stock. It's a long-term investment.
Right.
And that's something when I said that we've always been so cautious where we've been like, okay, sell.
Yep.
Is something going to happen? Like, we've kind of come to the point now where we're like, our long-term goal is real estate. And if we're buying a property every couple years for the next 10 years, it really doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter.
No, as
it
long as
really
you're covering your
doesn't.
rent. Yeah.
You can try and like predict and play everything right. But for where we're at in our life, for our age, for what our goals are, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
If we would have bought a year ago at a higher price with a better interest rate, great. If we bought now at a higher price or a lower price, great. If the market went down $100,000, great. If
don't sell then.
I don't know any way else for me personally to retire other than real estate.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, it's just like what you said, like every 2 years, if I accumulate a home, eventually I'm going to have enough income now where I could offset my income for my job and just be a landlord. And that's ultimately, I don't see any way else for me to retire other than doing something like that because my 401k ain't doing hot. My stocks ain't doing hot.
Yeah,
so,
we just said that.
Got a baby on the way.
Yeah,
like,
baby on the way.
Kids are expensive.
girls.
They're small, but they cost a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's Wyatt get into these days?
Everything.
He loves-
He's an animal now.
It's the best age. Like, whatever today and yesterday and the day before, whatever that exact age is the best age. He's just so sweet and fun and
communicates so well now, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
All of a sudden we're having like real conversations where he's finishing sentences, and you're like, when did that happen? Like,
yeah,
so cool.
he's
Because they talk,
funny.
there's a stage where they start talking, and it's like, one word here, this and that, but then they start stringing along conversations, and you're like, this is crazy.
What did you just say?
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, yeah. This morning.
And throwing the ball and playing sports, and just it's really, really fun.
Yeah.
Obviously, you guys love each other, but it's a different kind of, like, did you ever think you could love somebody as much as you love your son?
It's just, yeah, you can't really
It's
put it
just
into
You
different.
can't
words.
really put it in
Yeah.
words, right?
And
Like,
we're
I would
really, I feel
literally
like
jump in front of anything for my daughter,
Yeah.
like, and I would for my wife too, but
we were kind of saying, but differently.
She's like next to me,
Yeah,
Braydon.
Differently. You might like assess one situation a little bit more.
No.
I was at the gym this morning. I had this conversation where I was like, I feel like this slowdown, because since you started, it's kind of been like a grind,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
it was last year was our craziest year. It was overwhelming. It was a lot.
Yep.
And so this little slowdown that we've had has just been at like the most perfect time with our child and in our relationship and getting married, and like I am fully embracing all of it.
Yep.
If things go back up, great, we're ready. We had that nice little break, but it's been just like eventually he'll be in school and I'll never see him again, and that eventually is soon. So
it's
Yeah.
crazy how fast they're growing.
I know.
We
Wow.
we hadn't taken a vacation the whole time we've been together, where we weren't working half the time on
Yeah.
our laptops, on our
or
phones.
the whole time. Yeah.
And this past summer, we still did deals. We still did good business, but we were able to do a lot of trips. We did California a couple times, like beach trips, because now he was at the age where he enjoyed it. He liked the sand versus the first time we brought him there, and he wanted nothing to do with it. Like,
Yeah.
But we did a lot of family trips, and we really were able to spend good quality time. So
Yeah,
we
it
were
was
grateful
nice.
for that.
I would like leave my phone at home, and I'd be like, I left my phone at home.
And
Wait,
it was weird to me
do
for
I
her
need
to
it?
do
I
that.
think
Was,
it's okay.
yeah, you didn't even bring your laptop one of the trips, and I was like, "Are you sure?"
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Molly, Jared, this was awesome.
Yes,
It's
thanks
really
for
easy
having
talking to
us.
you guys. So
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on. For everyone who wants to get a hold of you, how can they reach out to you?
Instagram, social media, email,
Yep.
text.
Call us.
Call us.
What's
beat
your
me.
Instagram handles?
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Well,
Wait, what is mine? I think I changed
she changed it. It's at Molly Rodham Realty now.
Yes.
So at Molly Rodham Realty, and then J_Rodham for me.
I like it. It's got a good ring to it.
Yeah. That
J
nice transition
underscore.
from Molly Rundle Realty to Molly Rodham Realty.
Sounds much better. I like
Yeah.
it. I like it.
Yeah.
Good move. Good
She's
Sounds
move.
better
the
on
same.
social media. You'll find her.
Love it.
Yes.
Well, thank you guys very much.
Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely.
This was so
Yeah,
fun.
and thank you for having us on, and congratulations for all your success and the new baby coming along and
Yeah.
everything in your life.
You guys as well. You
Yeah.
as well. And thanks for sticking around for another episode of Break It Down with Braydon. And stick around. More to come.